What's up out there, YouTube? Double D here with Tournage du Bois. Welcome back. Today we got a different kind of project. I have a buddy of mine coming over here in a bit. Wants me to teach him how to do some turning. He has a friend that's getting married, and as a gift for them, he wanted to do a platter and a goblet. So we have a piece of elm. I have chainsawed, so these two were the same piece. Got them cut down, so we will get these the platter part kind of rounded out on the bandsaw. We'll get the blank cut up and squared out of the middle part of this one for the goblet, and we will get those turning. So I'm going to be teaching him how to do this while we record this project. Something a little different for me, something a little fun, and hopefully I can share a little bit of knowledge with him and some expertise. What I think of as expertise, I'm still, of course, a lot to learn, but definitely looking forward to the opportunity to work with him on this, so let's get rolling. Alright, so we have this piece that we're going to use for the platter set up. What we're going to do first is flush up and flatten this side. We're going to put a tenon on this side so we can flip it around and get the base finish. We're also going to round this up. So what I'll be doing is I will start off with the tool, showing Josh kind of how to use it, what techniques to use, and then he will jump in and do some of that stuff as well so he can get that practice as we start making this platter and go from there. My main portion in this, because this isn't perfectly parallel top and bottom, is I wanted this side to be as close to perpendicular to the lathe as possible with very little movement, and so that's what we have achieved here. So we're going to use this, like I said, this will end up being the top of the plate, so we're going to get it squared off a bit. We're going to get this rounded, and we're going to get a tenon put on here so that we can get it flipped around in the chuck jaws and get the bottom finished. So you're just going to slowly come up and just start working it. And what we want to do at this point is just get this round. Okay, so that's all we're working on, is getting it round. Now what I do is, if you come over here, I watch the top part up here. Yep. So I watch that horizon. So you can see how much material you're taking off and where you're cutting. Okay, so what's happening is we're getting a little bit of movement because we can't keep enough pressure on the drive spur. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually start flattening this top part, and we're going to get our tenon put in so we can turn it around in the chuck jaws to get this cut better with a better grip. Just perfect. Just taking off a little bit of material, and you can do it in sections. You can do just a little bit and then go back. Okay, so what we'll have you do is just come in just a little bit, so about right there, and just start going straight in, follow that line. Now the most important part of this tenon is going to be this surface just outside of it, and we need that to be as flat as possible for the chuck jaws. So the chuck jaws will grab a hold of this, but that flat part is where it uses the tension on that to spin the piece. So that's why we want that to be as flat as possible. I'm just going to mark this so you have a guideline as to where approximately you want to go for with your cut. That's good, good cuts. All right, so we have that flipped around. We're now going to finish getting that round. So Josh will take that, and I'll just kind of be coaching him a little bit as we go. Since this is the bottom, we're then establish the foot, get the shape of the platter the way we want it outside the foot, and then we're going to do a mortise on this side so that we can get it gripped, finished up, and spun around in the jaws to do the top. Take your time, nice, gentle cuts, so you get a feel for it. That's a good cut. All right, so we have that, and Josh did a great job with his first time using a bowl gouge. We got this pretty much around. There's this one area that's a little bit flat, but we will deal with that right here because it's just this little portion. We will deal with that when we get to the final shaping and determine where the rim is. So we do have this one little cut here that we need to get rid of. So what we're going to do is we're going to start working on the base of this piece, just cutting into it just a little bit to get that pretty much level and establish our rim, and then we'll get the shape going down to the foot. So I'm going to show Josh how I do that to start, and then we'll turn it over to him. Some good shavings right there. Nice, good cut from Josh. Well done, sir. Good cut. Good shavings right there. Perfect. And that's going to be our foot. Good. That's a good cut. All right, so we got that base established. We're gonna start our sanding. We're gonna use a little bit of sanding sealer and do some CA glue in some of these cracks, just to make sure there's no issue, which there shouldn't be. It should hold together just fine. But we're gonna do that just for safety precautions. So we're gonna sand this starting at 80 grit. We're gonna sand this all the way up to 400, but we will do sanding sealer and CA glue on it. All right, so we have that sanded at our 80 grit. We are going to hit it with sanding sealer. Now the reason I do sanding sealer is, one, it's going to help lock up the grain just a little bit and help get a better sand, but it's going to keep any CA glue that we use on any of these cracks from staining the wood, which it can do that. So we just want to avoid that. So we're just going to use the sanding sealer, and that will keep that from happening as we proceed and move forward. It's also going to give a better finish on the piece after we get that all finished up. Since we're hoping to keep this bark on it also, this will allow it to put a little bit of CA glue on the bark and help that stick on as over the life of the piece. I did the mortise off camera, so just kind of show Josh how to do it. They aren't always the easiest thing to do your very first time. So I gave him a chance to see how it's done, but I've done enough of those over time that I didn't have that on this video. So if you'd like to see a video on just how to do mortises, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know in the comments if you think that would be beneficial. All right, now we are back. We have that sanded up to 320 grit. It is denatured alcohol time. So this will stand the grain up just a little bit and allow us to knock that back. Also give us a little bit of a preview as to, bless you, it'll give a little bit of a preview as for what the finished piece will look like. And then we'll do our abrasive paste from Brad's workbench, and we'll get our finish applied. We'll get this laser engraved and get that flipped around to get the top done. We're going to use our sanding paste from Brad's workbench. There is a link to his Etsy store down below in the description. And if you use the coupon code DD10, you'll get 10% off your order. This is the abrasive paste, so this is the equivalent of about 12 to 1500 grit sandpaper. And so you just work that in a little bit, you'll feel that grit, and then we'll turn that lathe on, get that buffed out till it's smooth and the cloth comes back clean. And then we will go from there. One thing I will say about elm, which is what this is it does finish very, very nicely. So just a nice, comfortable RPM on the lathe, and just start working that in. A lot of people ask why I hold my hand like this. Well, I typically hold my hand like this because it keeps that pressure, but with the RPMs of the lathe moving, the hand tends to wobble. If you don't have that extra stability, it's easy to move. So it just gives it a little more stability. So we just work the same rag until it comes back clean. Those are awesome shavings. There, look at those. Those are good shavings. Perfect. All right, we are back. We're going to do our sanding sealer on the front portion because we're going to fill that little inclusion there with sawdust. That was an old rotten limb that grew inside. And we're going to need to touch up some of these cracks with the CA glue. So we're going to do that, get the sanding sealer on, and then go from there. Once again, we're going to go with our medium black. I'm just going to get these little bit of cracks that are in here. Some of these are really superficial, so I'm not super worried about some of those, but we're just going to take the time to double check. So for this, with the sawdust, we're going to use our thin. That solidifies up pretty quickly, so then we'll just put a little extra sawdust on there. Just like that. And then when we sand it all, that'll all come right out, not be an issue. All right, so we have our piece sanded up to 320 grit. We're gonna hit it with a piece of Formica and burn that ring in. And then we will denature alcohol and get it to 400 grit and go from there. All right, so now we have our denatured alcohol. We're gonna get that cleaned up just a bit. Pop that grain like we talked about with the backside. And then we will get this sanded at 400 grit and then get our abrasive paste and finish put on it. Now we have our abrasive sanding paste from Brad's workbench. So we're going to buff that off. Just work that in with the rag until that rag comes back clean. Then we'll get our finish put on. We're going to get our tongue wax finish put on it, then we're going to let it set. And while that sets, we will start doing the next part of the process. We're going to start on this goblet. So the main thing is going to be work to get this round. We're going to put a tenon on this end so we can get it in the chuck jaws, and then we will start shaping the actual goblet when we get to that point. All right, so Josh did a great job with doing a lot of the shaping. We tried him out with a bowl gouge. We tried him out with a spindle roughing gouge. I don't know which is his favorite, but he did a pretty good job. So now we're going to start hollowing it out so we can establish the rim of this goblet. Now there's a little bit of cracking here we might have to deal with, but I think it'll be thin enough. It's far enough on the outside that we won't have an issue. So we're going to keep our lathe speed down really low. Right now I'm just shy of 200 RPM. And I'm going to go in about this deep to start, because in case we have to cut this rim back. So we're going to go about right there. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a steady rest for this lathe yet. My buddy Todd over at Duke of Heritage is working on some steady rests. So when he gets those done, I'll be getting one for this lathe. Until then, we just got to be super careful. So we got this hollowed out. I didn't do that on camera just because there's no steady rest. I wanted to be as careful as possible, and I didn't want to deal with filming that. But Josh was able to see that. He did not attempt that. So what we're going to do is start shaping. I have a line as to how deep the goblet portion is. So we'll start shaping that, and he's going to have to leave for some prior arrangements and be out of town for work for a few days. So we'll finish this up without him, unfortunately. But Josh, thanks for the inspiration, and we'll catch you in a few days when we're ready to wrap up. Now we do have these two little tiny cracks. They do not go all the way through, so they're very surface. So we are going to sanding seal this up and get some CA glue on it, just like we did with the platter. All right, so on the inside we have our crack right here that's real little. Then we have this little one right here and this little one right here. So just like we did on the platter, we're going to use our black Star Bond. That way it'll kind of tie the two together, and we'll be able to keep on moving from there. Just like we did with the platter, we're going to use Brad's abrasive paste and Tung wax finish. All right, we've got our Tung wax finish here from Brad, so we'll get that put on and let it soak, and then we'll get it buffed off and get it parted off. All right, we got that finish put on. We will let it set for a bit, and then we will be back to buff it off. All right, so we got that wax on. What we're gonna do is have it around 800 RPM, just light pressure, even, let that heat build up on the rag, and that's gonna melt the wax right in for a durable, food-safe finish with the Tung wax. Hey everybody, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that project where we took that piece of elm, cut it up, and made the platter and the goblet. So we have some live edge on each side with the bark, leaving that on there. We have a little bit of pieces, areas with some cracking that we filled with the black CA glue, and we have the goblet that's out of the same piece. So these would have been sitting something like this in the tree together. So it's fun to have those from the same piece of wood. We have our our beauty ring burned into the rim of the plate, and we have the rings and the beads burned into the stem of the goblet. This is a special gift. My buddy Josh approached me about making this project, so I'm going to turn this over to him and kind of let him give you the idea behind it and talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. So first off, I want to thank Daniel for or Dan, Double D, I mean, whatever you guys want to call him. I call him friend. An amazing guy. Just being able to bring my ideas to life. My creativity is here, but it never comes out anywhere else. So I was talking to the mother of the groom, and she was looking for a couple of pieces to be used at the wedding, and the old, idea bulb went off in my head, and I thought it would be really neat to present as part of a wedding gift to them, to be able to use these pieces at the actual wedding. So with that, we have decided, obviously with this being Daniel's channel and using it as a video, it wouldn't be right to not allow him to have to his logo. It's an amazing logo as it is, but also, so we did the laser engraving with their name, the date, and then also on the bottom of the goblet a little detail there. So I can't thank Dan enough for how well this came out, and I just want to say a couple things. Special wishes to Cameron and Colby. I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm all about unique gifts and personal gifts, and just want you guys to know how much that you are loved, not only by my family, but obviously a ton of friends and family. So I hope you enjoy this as a display piece, a conversation piece. And to make a shameless plug, I have several items that Dan has done for me at my house, so I highly encourage you guys to talk about it. He's done different shows, different events. I've actually had the pleasure of working with him at a couple of events, and I mean, I enjoy it. I get to hang out with him, and just being able to just watch other people be in awe of his work. So I definitely appreciate the time that he, not only that he has spent on the piece while I was gone, but also allowing me the opportunity to learn, to be able to get more experience with, if I decided to do this on my own on a very smaller level, but be able to learn the ins and outs, the techniques of what he's learned, to possibly look at doing it on my own.
All right, thanks Josh, thanks for the kind words, and congratulations once again to the happy couple. I wish you many years of happiness as you go forward and enjoy life together. If this is your first time here, please do hit that subscribe button. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If not, give it a thumbs down. Also, in the comments down below, leave Josh some feedback on his technique, as he was using this as a learning process for him. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy sharing my little tiny bit of knowledge that I have, that most of I've gotten from other YouTubers, but leave him some feedback down below. He's a good guy, and definitely wish the happy couple many years of happiness. At any rate, we will catch you all next time.